Here today to model a professional improvement conference, and the people who will be working with us is Wendy Bowman from our Human Resources Office, Cindy Grant from our Human Resources Office, and me, Janet Richards, here from Central Office. All right. Hi, Cindy. How are you today?
Good.
Good. I see you've brought your third-party representative, Wendy. Welcome. We're glad you could join us today.
Thank you.
We're going to be working on a professional improvement plan for our observable indicator 4.1, which talks about the critical thinking. We've met previously and had identified that critical thinking was a lower indicator in your overall scores. And at that time, we had brainstormed some things in the classroom that you could be working on. And since that time, as we've continued to be in and out of the classroom, we've noticed that those scores are still lower than what we would like to see.
Right.
And so we're really at a point in time where we want to make sure that we're getting support put in place in order to just have more consistency in making sure that this indicator has a chance to respond. Your thoughts on that?
I agree. We had met before, and 4.1 was definitely lower, one of my lower scores, and we looked at my data and my kids. Previously, I was not moving them, and one of my big concerns is I do have low readers, and I want to be able to meet their needs and ask them to think critically and be problem solvers. So I do see the need for that.
All right, so let's brainstorm together. We have a professional improvement plan, and we're going to go through each of the sections of that. So obviously we're working on critical indicator 4.1, and that has to do with the critical thinking and problem solving. And so I was thinking about what the improvement objective might actually be, how we might want to word that.
Okay. I know one of the things that we had talked about prior was the instructional strategies that would be implemented and could help foster that implementation of critical thinking skills and problem solving.
So maybe if we say to develop and implement effective lessons, because obviously that's going to be a part of that, and provide opportunities to practice the critical thinking and problem solving?
The students.
Right.
Yes.
The students practicing.
Okay.
Yes, you're
Thank
exactly
you.
right. Okay, so we're going to make a note of that here on the form. The next section is going to be where we talk about what supports exactly will be put in place, kind of what responsibilities you'll have with those supports, and then what responsibilities that I can assist you with in terms of that.
Okay.
So let's kind of brainstorm together. We're wanting to get students critically thinking. We're wanting those instructional strategies, as you mentioned. Do you have some ideas of what might feel comfortable or doable to you in terms of this?
One thing that I've thought about doing, but I haven't made the time to do it, and it is to utilize EdHub, the resource that we do have. It's something I've thought about. I know that it's there, but it's making the time to do it, and to have access, or just to spend the time looking at that.
EdHub would definitely be a good option. I agree with that.
And will Cindy have access to the EdHub and update materials for the entire year?
That's a great question. Yes, you will have ongoing access to EdHub and the resources. In terms of that, I'm going to kind of ask you, it's a great resource, and I want you to be able to utilize what's in there. What might be your comfort level in terms of, do you want to simply report back to me any experiences that you're having or things that you're learning when we collaborate together? Are there things that you want to actually present to me? How do we want to foresee that being a piece of the support?
Well, I know in the beginning when I first looked at it, and that was a while ago, there's a section in there that I can journal about what I've viewed and reflect over that, and I think that might be a good piece to have, because then I could go back to it and see what my thinking was at the time of reviewing it and look at specifics. The one question I did have is that will I get emails from you saying that another token thing has been added so that I can implement? Will I get those again?
Yes, you definitely will get information in terms of the tokens and the access. That basically gives you the access to the various components on
Okay.
EdHub, the library, professional development, resources, things like that.
So
yes.
I'll need to look for those then, so
Okay.
yes.
Okay, so we're going to write this in such a way that obviously we're going to utilize EdHub resources, and I'm going to leave that kind of open-ended in terms of you're certainly welcome to share with me any journaling that you would like to. My most important concern will be that you are being able to utilize it in a way that's helpful to you, and then I think on my side, obviously, we certainly can look at making sure that I'm continuing to observe in your classroom, specifically around indicator 4.1, and that I'm providing feedback to you each time that I'm in your classroom so that that immediate feedback will be helpful on a daily basis as you implement plans.
Another component, I guess two things. Could we also put in there for one of the procedures for achievement to plan and actually develop lessons that will implement strategies that support critical thinking by working with the instructional coaches? Is that something that we could put in there as well?
We certainly can. I can certainly arrange that you will have options for support, and I think instructional coaches would be a great idea in terms of picking their brain if you have specific questions, or as you're planning lessons and you're really detailing out. One of the things that I would like to encourage is that no matter how veteran a teacher you are in terms of lesson planning, I think this is a point where literally planning out what specific critical thinking activities or questions you want to incorporate on a daily basis, that is definitely something that I would like to see happen. And one of the things that I notice in your classroom is you're really great about writing your objective or your I can statement on the board. I always see that when I'm there. And I'm wondering if this would be a great way for you to also then note what might be your critical thinking activity or your critical thinking questions that you definitely want to hit on and make a priority in that lesson. It seems like that would be something you could connect together and be a visual reminder for you of how important that is as you move through your lesson. What are your ideas about that?
I think that would be a good piece, because then that will keep it in front of me throughout each lesson and something I can refer back to as a trigger that I need to make sure that I'm hitting that component.
Okay, and so writing, making sure that you're planning ahead of time and writing on the board that critical thinking component. You had mentioned about planning lessons and working with the instructional coach, and obviously I think those would lend hand in hand easily, activities as you're planning and writing to run those by the coach and see how you're doing. And obviously we have the EdHub resources.
Is it something that, I know we have the mini observations where you'll be coming in and scoring for about, somewhere between around 10 minutes. Is it something that I can schedule for you to be in there for an entire lesson so that you can give me specific feedbacks? I've developed my lesson, and say with an instructional coach, then you can come in and observe and give me feedback to see if I'm hitting the target where it's more intentional that way.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We definitely, that's actually a really great idea in the fact that kind of really spending time to mock up the lesson and get it just how you want it, and me staying for an extended period of time so I can see the entire flow of that, and then us being able to collaborate afterwards and provide that feedback. I will write that in as well. So obviously I'm going to continue to be observing in your classroom, providing you feedback each time. We have the instructional coach, we have full-length lessons that were kind of prepared ahead of time, and we have the EdHub resources. I think that's a nice list of things that could definitely be of good support. Okay, on this section we're going to look at time frame. I feel like an ongoing time frame through this school year is appropriate to develop this particular indicator. Feeling good with that?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. Target date is kind of that, when do we estimate that this plan would basically have run its course? It would be May, which would be basically the end of the school year that we would look towards for that. Assessment methods, as we kind of look back at what supports we have in place, we obviously will have observation data that will continue to generate through the classroom observations. And obviously I'll be documenting my feedback each time that I'm in your classroom, providing you with that documented feedback as well.
Is this something that my reflective journals could count towards and be an assessment method?
You know, that's a really great question. Obviously, your reflections on your journals are important. They're important to your overall processing about this. However, on these assessment methods, what we really want to do is keep them the observable, around the observable actions that occur in your classroom. So we would not include on this particular assessment method those reflective journals, even though I know they will be important to you in the overall process. Also, I'm going to note that you are on a summative cycle for this school year, and that will continue to help us as we work together through this plan, making sure that we're meeting together frequently and making sure that that consistent support is there through the school year.
Okay. Going back to the ongoing time frame, when are we going to meet again to kind of talk and review about this?
Let's talk about that. I think that, you know, we could certainly, we actually will meet on this plan probably several times before the end of the school year, ideally. And so I'm thinking, what if our first check back is in about 6 weeks? That would definitely not be so long that we're not making, you know, that we're potentially not getting a jump on the support that's there. But it's close enough to that we want to make sure that we've got several data points to talk about, as well as giving you a chance to utilize your EdHub resources.
Okay.
Sounds good. Okay. So we'll kind of plan to check in about 6 weeks for that. And then, like I said, we can meet several times during the year to review how this plan is unfolding and obviously to continue to look at evolving it together.
Okay.
All right. Well, we'll get ready to sign it, and again, thank you all for coming today for writing this professional improvement plan.
Thank you.